I put a spell on you.
Welcome to I Put a Spell on You.
Cast your mind.
Eddie Hurst's Wonderfull Discoverie of Witches podcast. The show using spells, magic, and best guesses to help solve all our problems. Welcome back to I Put a Spell on You, Eddie Hurst's Wonderfull Discoverie of Witches podcast. This is the show where I invite artists and creatives from across the industry and realms. I think that's the same as industry. Is a realm an industry? Doesn't matter. I invite them on to chat. I invite disabled and neurodivergent creatives from across the realms of the art industry to come on and chat about their creative life, what they're up to, and crucially, I use the cutting edge of pre-1700s magic to help solve any and all problems they have. Generally just one problem I let them try and solve because we don't want to be greedy. And likewise, if you're listening and you think, hey, I would like to see how magic from before the Civil War can help me out, get in touch. You can follow us on @ED1. You can follow me on social media @EDYHurst on Facebook and X. I mean, I'm there. You could contact me, but I'm not thrilled about it. And also send us an email. Go through my website eddiehurst.co.uk. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the podcast. I'm really excited about this episode we're about to listen to with the fantastic Laurence Clark, and some of you might have noticed a slight delay between when this episode was planned to come out and where we find ourselves now. For those of you listening in the distant future, there was no delay. What are you talking about? But thank you so much for your patience. The truth of the matter is, of course, that when you mess around with magic, sometimes magic messes back with you, and I was, of course, trapped in the netherworld. Oh, by a creepy demon. Yep, that tracks. And of course that demon is here now. Do you have a comment on this?
Thanks for having me on, mate. Well, actually, I did nothing to trap you. I think really you're using me as perhaps a bit of magic realism, a metaphor for the fact that you had a lot on your plate, which is ironic for a show where some of the episodes and the interviews were based on having a lot on your plate and really personal circumstance, a bit of illness. It's not important for you to get into it. I don't really think you necessarily need to let me or an audience know a greater capacity, but just the fact that actually you're using me as a bit of a cover. It feels like, if you were to create a live theatre show or something, you're actually using magic more as a metaphor to deal with your own problems and addressing issues that perhaps you should be looking at in more of a head-on.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Thank you for coming on. That is not that useful, actually. But here we are with a fantastic interview that I'm really excited to share with Laurence Clark. Laurence Clark started as a stand-up comedian and is a writer. He's written for Coronation Street, Hollyoaks. He was a member of the BBC Writers' Room Writers' Access Group and for screenwriting in 2021. The experience of those led to him having a pilot sitcom called Perfect created, which you can find online. You can get it on the UKTV Play app. We also talk about some other upcoming projects he has. He's working on a play called Cured, which we'll hear more about in the interview, but sounds great. And I'm really excited to see the next few steps that happen with that. And there are some projects he mentions, but he can't talk about because of some non-disclosure agreements. So it's an industry secret behind the vault, or else he might lose the opportunity altogether. And still, at the time of recording this introduction, he cannot. So just, imagine a creative fire burning away secretly, and when in a few months' time or a year's time they get announced, you can be like, I remember when he couldn't talk about that. And I also really appreciate how much reflection he has on just how attitudes have changed and how opportunities have changed for the better. Things need to develop and things need to get more better and more accessible, but I think also recognising that there has been positive change and there have been good things that have happened is just as important to celebrate. And of course for his spell, well, I don't mean to brag, but I like to think I've given him a pretty good solution to how he can beat his son at board games. So we're just about to go into it. Thank you so much, and I'm really excited to show you the next few episodes of this season of the podcast. And please do come and see the live show if you like this, if you enjoy this, and you think what I'd like is more of the rambly first 5 minutes of it, coupled with somebody talking about the Lancashire Witch Trials and the Venga Boys, then you are in for a treat with my show, Eddie Hurst's Wonderfull Discovery of Witches in the County of Himself. That is on a short run at Edinburgh. The tickets are live now that this episode is out. You can see it in the episode description. It's going to be at the Crate at George Square at the Assembly at 4:20 from the last week of August, so the 18th to the 26th. Of course, some other live things coming up too, which are exciting and witch-based that I'm not going to announce because they're not available to like get a ticket for yet. So in my own way, am I not also doing a non-disclosure agreement where the agreement is with myself for risk of being embarrassed? Do we not all do non-disclosure agreements in our day-to-day life? Yeah, I don't think we got enough time for that, guys. Come on! Could you just introduce yourself for the audience that are listening?
Sure, my name's Laurence Clark. I do many things. I used to be a stand-up comic, but I do that less nowadays. I'm also now a playwright and a screenwriter. And do various other things around deaf, disabled and neurodivergent people and the arts and TV.
So, I wanted to ask you as well, which I didn't think you put in there, which is absolutely fine, but you're a doctor as well.
I am, yeah, so I don't use the title that much anymore. I use it with other doctors because obviously people make assumptions about me because of how I speak.
Right.
And using the title is like a shorthand to kind of circumnavigate some of their assumptions. I think, and get them to talk to me more as an equal.
Right.
But yeah, I have a PhD in molecular biology and computer science. And that was because when I went to school, I was really interested in drama and English and writing. And I was told that I'd never get work in those areas and to stick with computing. Computing was actually basket weaving. I think you saw it as a really good profession.
Right, yeah.
For like someone like myself in a wheelchair, and I did a degree, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't really want to go back and live with my parents.
Yeah.
I had a flat, a student flat, so that I want to keep my student flat. How can I stay being a student? That's a terrible reason for doing a PhD, but it brought me 4 more years.
Yeah, absolutely. I just loved that it was like, the drama, that might be a bit tricky, so you thought of doing molecular biology.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to go. That's where all the jobs are.
So that was like a PhD, so there's like a big dissertation and specific research in that.
Yeah. And towards the end, I got more and more disillusioned with it because it wasn't really. I was creating computational models of how E. coli and Salmonella move about and sense their environments and move. and it was so theoretical and so not related to the real world in terms of practical application that I got really disillusioned with it. And then I sort of promised myself that if I got it, I got the qualification, then I'd go and try something more fun.
Yeah, sure.
And then fell into stand-up comedy from there.
Right, and have you always lived in Liverpool?
No, I came to Liverpool for my degree, and it was I was doing computing. I wasn't great at maths. I wasn't a fan of maths. I thought at Liverpool you didn't have to do maths with computing. I must have fallen asleep on the open because the first day, half the timetable was maths.
No.
But I came to Liverpool for all the wrong reasons, probably. And then I married someone here, so I've lived here ever since.
Yeah. And have you found it? Do you prefer it in Liverpool, or is it just kind of this is where I am?
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck in that. But my kids are here. We keep talking about moving, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah, fair enough. And of course, now the Beatles are back. Liverpool's back on top. Have you heard the new song? Is it? I
haven't. About a bit on the news.
Yeah.
But I've not heard it properly.
Yeah, it's
Have you?
Yeah, I've listened to it a few times. It's alright. But I do it's like, they found a demo that they never released. It's like, yeah, I listened to it and I think, that was a demo they didn't release. It's fine.
And didn't he record it in 1978?
Yeah,
which is
something like that.
8 years after they split up.
Yeah.
So, I have a weird... So, I used to really love John Lennon.
Yeah.
I respect John Lennon until a friend of mine about 6 months ago told me that part of John Lennon's on-stage act was he used to copy someone with cerebral palsy and do this really unkind impression. And if you look on YouTube to John Lennon's cerebral palsy, there's a video. And obviously it was a different time, but it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And because John Lennon was this really visionary artist that talked about world peace and I'm kind of not really sure what to think of John Lennon anymore.
No. They don't mention that on the tours.
They don't.
Which maybe they should start introducing now.
They do, but apparently it was a regular thing that he did to get the crowd going.
This is what they're like. I know what these guys want. Oh, John. Oh, God. Well, they stink then now. So, the podcast is, I invite fantastic guests like yourself on to just chat about your life as a creative person, making things, and also help out. Because I found out that I'm magic, which is really exciting for me. And so I'm trying to figure out what magic I can do to help people. And I was wondering, have you ever done magic before? Have you ever met any witches or spellcasters or anything like that?
I'm really fascinated by magic. I took my son to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child last week.
Oh, cool.
I'm working with Jack Thorne, who wrote that at the moment.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get Jack, because he do all sorts of magic.
Yeah.
Illusions in it. I was trying to get Jack to tell me how they did some of them. No.
Oh,
no,
really?
no.
Proper secret?
Like Magic certainly has an advisor from the magic circle. No, nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I also wanted to ask about your writing career. So we talked a bit about how you did your PhD and then you kind of fell into stand-up comedy. How did that happen? Was it an open mic?
Yeah, it was. So, but I always wanted to write. So I was sending off scripts, writing scripts, and not really getting anywhere because when you send off unsolicited scripts, that obviously I was quite new to it as well. So I started the stand-up as a way of getting what I was writing an audience, however small. But then I started doing Edinburgh Fringe, and that went well, and I started to get really good reviews. I never really intended it to become a career, but for a good few years, I was mostly earning money from performing. I used a lot of tech, a lot of slides, a lot of videos, a lot of sound clips. In order to kind of just to make it more of a show, really. So after Harry Potter, Jamie said that was the best thing he'd ever seen in the theatre. I said, yeah, but what about when you used to come and watch me? And he just looked at me.
Withering put.
I can't compete with magic.
Well, it's the magic circle as well, those guys that lock and key. So I wanted to also, so how we met, well, I don't know if it was met, but how we were in the same virtual room together a few months ago was a sort of writing scheme where it was for disabled and or neurodivergent writers. And I know that you were in that, and also you did did you do the BBC Access Writers thing?
Yeah, I did, yes.
How have you found that experience?
Really good. So I think the change for me was lockdown.
Right.
Because overnight, all of my performing work went. And then people were doing gigs on Zoom. I hated it. It was like torture. It was like, because either you're a Nazi and you see everyone has to mute themselves. But then you're performing to literal silence. And it's like talking into space and there's no atmosphere. Or I did some where they let some people leave the microphones on, so you got a bit of laughter. But then what you find is someone's auntie just runs and start talking over you. And very often they were louder than then Zoom didn't have the kind of technology for sound level. So everyone's at an equal volume pretty much. It brought no resemblance to being on stage and interacting with a live audience.
Absolutely.
So what I was able to do, I furloughed myself. And what I'd been furloughed was great, because suddenly, for the first time, I didn't have to worry about bills. And I just set myself the target of applying to all the kind of screenwriting schemes. So I did that over 2020, and I wrote like a script and applied, and got nowhere. And right at the end of the year, I got 2 at once. So I got 4 screenwriting, and I got the Writers Access Group.
Great.
So I did both together in 2021. And And also in 2021, I won the Triforce UKTV Writers Slam.
Oh, great.
So this was like, because a lot of these writing schemes that are meant to get you into TV and start you off, a lot of what they need to do is like mentoring or training, which is all very well, but they don't give you a credit. And what you need is a credit. You need your first credit. So the Writers Slam, it was a really ambitious idea. They've not done it again. I think because they didn't quite realise how much it was going to cost.
Okay.
But the 4 winners got a pilot on day.
Yes.
Broadcast on day.
And that's where Perfect came from.
That's where Perfect came from.
No way, that's amazing.
That's where Perfect came from.
Yeah.
So I think they shortlisted 50 and I got into that. And then I got down to the final 6. And the final 6 got a production company and got paid to go and do a few drafts. And then they picked 4 out of the 6 to get produced.
Incredible, yeah.
And that was on Dave last year. That's what I needed.
Yeah.
Because like until you have a credit, and also a credit of your own original work, because for a lot of writers, your first credits in children's.
Yeah.
And that's great, and I'm doing a few children's now myself.
Yeah.
To build up. But having like half an hour of your character, that's amazing.
Absolutely. And your worldview in there as well.
Yes.
So it's probably a good idea to talk. This is perfect seg into talking about Perfect.
Yeah.
I saw it was great. It's really good. How much of that is based on your life and autobiographical?
Bits of it are, but also I know lots of disabled people, lots of disabled friends, so you kind of put in a bit of other people's experiences as well. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
It didn't get serious. None of the pilots went any further, which I think was a shame, but I think it stands up really well.
Absolutely.
I think it's really well cast.
Yeah.
The 3 leads, because it was important to have like 3 disabled leads.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And and to get like those actors, I thought they bounced off each other really well. So it took a while to get the green light for it. And then when we did, we had 6 weeks to make it.
Yeah.
So it was, so I think we got the green light end of May. It was filmed first week of July.
Right.
And it was broadcast last week of August.
Oh, wow.
So that was a very intense. To go from like nothing to, I think normally people make things and they're on TV like a year later.
One thing I wanted to ask you with Perfect, and I guess with a lot of your work as well, is like, do you, when you're having meetings with people and when you're presenting and writing work, do you feel like you have a responsibility, or do you feel like people put a responsibility on you for representing disabled people and disabled characters?
I think where we are at the moment, there is a kind of responsibility, but also I think there's a responsibility to portray the world as we see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the world as I see it is full of deaf, disabled, neurodivergent people. And and these are people that have been edged out of storytelling and drama and comedy, and yet there's only so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
And when you talk to development producers, they're looking for that next way to tell a story that's not been seen before. So it actually makes sense for that to involve characters who are different. So you can tell the same stories, but with a different slant, a different perspective with those characters. The nature of particularly the TV industry, and arts to a lesser extent, because I think the Arts Council has had a big effect on levelling the playing field. There's still more to do. But when you look at TV, we've not had anything like that. A lot of the people working TV are freelance. So if you have access requirements, access to work, you can get a job one day and start the next day. Access to work doesn't work anywhere near that quickly. So there's just been a lot fewer disabled people, deaf people, neurodivergent people working in that industry because of those barriers. And now we're slowly, trying to change it and get more people working there. Inevitably, that will lead to more stories being told. About people who are different.
And how did you find with as the stuff you're writing, as you're writing things and you're discussing, and then it goes into production? Do you find it frustrating the advocating that you have to do, or is it more or less part of the course?
I don't find it frustrating. I think you got to work within the context of where we are now. I think things are getting there. There's still an issue around, we haven't got that many high profile actors, but we're getting more all of the time. But when you're looking at casting and you've got executives from streamers and broadcasters, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at putting familiar faces in that will draw an audience. And inevitably that means the same people get cast again and again. And you need to encourage them to take risks.
And then, so I also wanted to ask about Cured. Which so that's what I saw you recently at the North Venue Showcase, which is a collection of theatres in the North. They come together on a periodic basis, and artists like as we were both doing are presenting things there, hopefully to get work. So do you want to talk a bit about what it was that you were presenting, the work?
I wrote a play 6 years ago, and one day it was see the light of day. I believe it was the first thing I wrote that wasn't stand up. I've rewritten it so many times now, and it's been through lots of development funding, and I think it's about ready to be seen. It's been ready to be seen for like 2 or 3 years. But sensible writers writing their first play will write a little two-hand. It's like really cheap to produce. I wrote a play with integrated BSL sign language, integrated audio description, and a cast of 8. Or 75% of whom are disabled and will have their own access requirements. So I just totally failed to realise how expensive it is. And that's been the main block for getting it on anywhere. But I thought it was kind of dead in the water about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And then a friend who had been to a reading, who was now on the board of the National Theatre, said, "Oh, can I send it to them?"
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I've got a reading there next week.
Amazing. Yeah, incredible.
Which it's not public, it's for industry, which I'm a little disappointed about because I really wanted to shout about it.
Yeah.
So they're supporting it to find a London venue, hopefully. And then we talked to the Arts Council, and even though it's going to cost an amazingly high amount of money, that I look at the budget and go, surely. And then I go through it bit by bit, and you can't really cut that. You can't really cut that. And you do actually have to pay people.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
But yeah, we've just put in the bid and we've spoken to them. So hopefully, we're looking at it for April 25, and that's because it's a play about a pilgrimage to Lourdes.
Right.
And all the pilgrimages go around Easter.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to get on at Easter because the people that will be offended will all be in France.
Right. So what's the story of the play?
So 4 young disabled people on a pilgrimage, they all, some of them want to be there, some of them really don't want to be there, and find the idea of going to get cured. And then one of them basically fakes their cure. In order to impress a girl.
Right.
And then the consequences of that just roll on. Yeah.
It's such a, am I right that happened to you?
Yeah, I did go there.
Yeah.
I did go there. My wife went there as well. It partly came from my wife. So my wife at the time, she walked with crutches, but they pushed her to the water in a wheelchair, and she got in the water, and then she sort of walked out, and obviously, to someone looking that didn't know, it looks like, So I really like that story, and then I was like, if that did happen, why would someone do it? What would be the consequences?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of that,
Yeah, and so to castivate, that's the plot of it. The idea of it being a cure and you being sent off and it to be a cure is wild. That's wild.
Yeah. And yet it's still going.
Yeah.
In 2023. It seems like this anachronism from
Yeah, it feels like it should be in the. So I've got a spell book.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be some of the stuff in there. There's more graft involved in it to try and get something to happen.
And when you look, because there's an official website where they list the official cures. Because last time I looked, it was there'd been 70 cures, but every so often, every few years. But all of the cures are things like cancer and things that aren't really visible. And so like cancer will go into remission after a trip there.
Yeah.
So you could, no one's grown a leg back.
Yeah.
There's never anything that tangible.
You're not religious, are you?
I'm not. No.
Were you raised religious? Right?
No.
So what? How did it?
So I think my mum and dad wanted a break. And like this Catholic charity, I think we just take it.
And so it was just a trip that they organised?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The fantastic cures just seems wildly ableist.
It just feels like a hangover from another age.
Yeah.
Just never gone away.
Yeah, and a lot of magic. It's that like people who feel out of control in the world and want to feel like there is some control. But the old magic is that like a lot of people didn't have agency. A lot of people didn't even know you should wash your hands. So it's like, well, how do I feel like I have some control? Ugh, magic, I guess. Real wormhole. So, going on to the spell. So I ask every guest if there's any spells I can use to help in your day-to-day life with big things or little things. And you sent me three spell requests, all absolute bangers. And
none of them about helping me sleep.
No, which is great. So your wife at the moment isn't very well.
Yes.
And so you had one for her to get better. So I've got a few suggestions for that. A spell to make your mum's dog Holly no longer afraid of fireworks.
Yeah.
Which I've got something now. As we go into them, I'm not gonna cast them because as you'll see, there's a few bits that I think I might go to jail for if I got hold of them. And then the final one was a spell to make you win board games against your very competitive son Jamie. So a lot of these spells were done at a time when doctors did not exist, and so actually there was a lot of medicine in there. There was a lot of medicinal stuff. I have used the book that I've been using for your spells is called
The Petite Albert.
So the Petite Albert, of course, translates from French to Little Albert, which of the books we've looked at for this podcast is the one that sounds the closest like it could also be a sex thing. But it is not. I mean, I guess some of the spells are kind of related to that.
But not all of them.
So, the Petite Albert was very popular in the 18th century. It was first published in 1668, and it is associated with a companion piece called The Grand Albert, a spell book purely for big things. So if you're over 6 foot, you have to use the Grand. That's not true. It's I think it's more for communing with God and devils and demons, whereas the Petite Albert is more of handy things you can do around your house, which is, I feel like, very much the zone that we're working in. It is, of course, so obvious to all of us, I'm sure. Little Albert, the Little Albert. Do you mean, of course, the work of Albert Magnus, which of course is here. So he's a big lad in the spellbook world. He was actually in Witchcraft Detected. You might have heard him there. He lived in 1193, and he was a priest who did a lot of work on herbology and maybe a little bit of alchemy, which we might find out later in the series. It's not just his work, though. This is, it will come as no surprise, a composite piece of collected spells, advice, guidance, bit of astrology in there, a lot of gnarly stuff, like a lot more wolf body parts used in these spells than in the last one. I guess on the continent, wolves were a lot easier to get, so why not fill up on the sinew for it? It was very popular in France, and it sort of overlapped between science and superstition. There is, of course, some wicked pranks, which do include preventing sleep and stopping a pot from boiling, which, to be fair, nowadays would be just as annoying. So there is some good stuff in here for us to look at to help Laurence out. If you want to find out a bit more about the context of these spell books and the world, I'd really recommend reading the work and having a look at Owen Davis. He talks about how these were sold a lot by peddlers rather than getting them from a bookshop or a publisher, so there'd be people travelling around selling them, which is kind of how they're a bit of an underground thing. It's also not to be confused with the Little Albert psychology experiment, which, boy, is that bleak. But no more of that we shall, for we are about to crack open the Petite Albert and help out Laurence. So for helping your wife, I didn't want to cast any spells for that, because I feel like if she's getting help from the NHS and from trained medical experts, I don't want my spells to interfere with that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be irresponsible of me to be knocking out the healthcare she's getting. And also it might make the doctors feel a bit embarrassed when it really flawlessly works. So there are quite a few spells in the Petite Albert which are for gambling and games. So I thought with this one, there's going to be something in gambling. So the first one for prospering at gambling, which I guess a board game kind of can be.
Yeah.
I guess so. Is
Monopoly.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is that what you normally play?
Yeah, play a lot of Monopoly
Yeah.
with him at the minute. Yeah.
And is he really good?
Yeah, but if he loses, he gets quite cross.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see how this. So I have cast a spell for you,
Great.
and we'll see how this goes. So this is the first one, which is this. This isn't the one that I did. But this is to prosper at gambling. So you take a dead eel that was killed by suffocating it on the land. Take the gall of a bull that has been killed by the fury of the dogs, and put into the skin of the eel with a dram, only a wee dram, of vulture blood, linking the eel skin at both ends with a string. And then you put it in a pile of composting manure for the space of a fortnight, and then you will dry this in a heated oven with fern plucked on the eve of St. John. Then you will make a bracelet from this on which you write with a crow quill and in your own blood the 4 letters HVTY. And wearing this bracelet around your arm, you will make fortune in all places of gambling. So
Whoa.
if you find a dead eel that looks like it's been killed by suffocating and a cow with the fury of dogs, that's just to bear that in mind as an option for you.
I really should have given you more time to get the ingredients.
Well, it's gathering the dogs is fine. It's getting the fury off them that's the tricky bit, I found. So here's the method that I have for you, which is similarly to gambling. So another big thing in the game section of the book is prospering at fishing. So I figure that back then was a game, that there was also food involved in, but largely a game, like a bit of leisure.
Yeah.
Have you ever been fishing?
No.
Okay, well, if you go fishing or fishing for a victory on the board game, I think.
Yeah.
So here's what I've done for you. I have taken yeast with cumin, old cheese, wheat flour, and good wine lees. So that is dregs of wine.
Yeah.
You grind it all together, compact it into small balls the size of a pea, and then what you can do is throw these into rivers where there's an abundance of fish and the water's calm. All the fish will become drunk, such that you can take them in by hand, and soon after they will recover from their drunkenness and be as before. So this is what I thought I could make for you. So here I have some little pea-sized pellets for you to enjoy. I'll put them there.
Thank
you can do what you want with them. They do smell. Now there's nothing I can do. It turns out to put yeast, cheese, and cumin in a bag. Oh, it's a smell. Your son's 12, so maybe giving him them would be dangerous. I think any human having them might be dangerous.
Yeah. Just don't force feed them.
Well, that's I think if you just sprinkle them around, maybe the vibe of the board game scene will get merrier.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can just pick up your victory. But do be careful, obviously, if he's very competitive at the end. So do you think that's going to be helpful?
I'll give it a go.
And now, how do you reckon it'll be for Monopoly, or are there other games that you play?
We play something called Exploding Kittens.
Yeah, I know Exploding Kittens.
Yeah. So we play that a lot, and a family version of Cards Against Humanity.
Sure. Yeah.
So it'll probably be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think the laid-back drunkenness vibes that you will obviously scatter into the metaphorical river of gaming will no doubt help certainly. So what I do need you to do after this is, in about a week's time, if you could send us a little voice note or recording, just saying next time when you've used them, how it went. Because I'm trying to top up how, so far at the time of recording, I am 1 for 1 on spells, which was to stop someone doom scrolling. And I think that seems like a real skill that I'm happy to have. But if I can sort out helping people in board games as well, that's a great extra avenue for me. That'd be a real win. Well, thank you so much, Laurence, for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. It's been great.
So, people can watch Perfect on UKTV Play App.
Yes. Yeah. Go to the UKTV Play website. It's on there. Just follow me on Twitter or X, or whatever they call it. By the time this comes out, I'm Laurence_Clark on there, yes, on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Laurence Clark Comedian. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Laurence.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurence, for joining us and for your time here. I really enjoyed the chat, and I think you can hear that. A fun fact, there was a washing machine halfway through that stopped. Is that a fun fact? It's a fact. It's at least 50% of that, and at GCSE that makes a C. So, is it, or is it a B? I don't know. They don't do GCSEs anymore. It's not. Look, thank you for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the chat and you found it really interesting. Also, your hooks, they're tented for whether the spell for Laurence worked. I think also, maybe a little bit more importantly, it's worth saying is that I've had an update and Laurence's wife is feeling much better. So that is I think that's more comforting news than the board game stakes. But nevertheless, Laurence has sent me a recording of whether it worked or not. So here we go.
Hi, Eddie. This is Laurence. It's 10 days later. I played my son at a board game last night. I made him smell the spell beforehand, and out of 4 players, he came last. So thank you for helping me defeat a 12-year-old boy.
Hey, wow! Look at that! It worked again. Like, this is wild. When I started the podcast, I did think that like a lot of these wouldn't work, either for me being a bit too sloppy at doing them, or because a lot of it is like just using fishing bait and hoping that translates to a board game. But you know what? I think this is like, it's not a bad hit rate, right? This has got to be like 60-70%, which is pretty good. Do you wish to protect your house from a ghost, or track a thief in the general direction of north, east, south, or west, or maybe even just figure out what the luckiest day to do an important task is? Get in touch with me. I can help you out with that, and then we can read it out on the show. And obviously, you need to let me know if I'm successful, because I am. This is more and more becoming a survey of just how powerful my magic reserves are, which it turns out is about 60%. If it was an alcohol, whoa, you're going to want a shot, no more. Or in a cocktail. That, of course, is up to you, dear listener. So please do follow Laurence if you'd like to find out more and when he can announce those projects. Hear the news. He's on Facebook and Instagram at Laurence Clark Comedian, and he's Laurence_Clark on Twitter/X. Please do follow me for the show updates and things on Eddie Hurst. That's EDYHURST. Instagram, Facebook, the XE, or the one, that fine one. And also on my website, eddiehurst.co.uk, you can get in touch with spell requests and things, and also sign up to my mailing list where you will find out about upcoming dates for this show and just me generally on the circuit. Of course, my show will be 420 from the 18th to the 26th at the Crate with Assembly, and I look forward to sharing with you the next few episodes where we will be solving Problems such as melancholy, theft, and perhaps even some of my own problems. But maybe the real problems are the ones we made on the way. Wait, hang on, does that work? I don't know. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye! iPod A Spell on You, supported by Arts Council England and commissioned through the Lowry Developed With programme.